All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
What's up, everyone? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Trump announces he is going to sue Facebook and Twitter and Google over alleged censorship. Says they cease to be private, and of course, are they? That's what a lot of my liberal friends try to push back. They're like,
I thought you guys were capitalist. You want to control a private company?
yes, Facebook is just like the coffee shop down my street. They're influencing elections, controlling information, and we don't use telephones anymore. We barely use it to text. We text people. We don't call people anymore. This is how we pass information. It's through Facebook, Twitter, and Google. That's it. Those are our main sources of passing it. Most of us have Google emails, Gmails. Most of us use YouTube. Most of us use YouTube to listen to information, to look up information, because it's the best platform with the most videos. Most of us use Twitter. I know we have a lot of Republicans that are making new Twitters and stuff like that, but they're just not as good as Twitter. They're not as clean. They don't have as the buy-in isn't there as much as Twitter. It's just difficult to use. And same with Facebook. Most of us have Facebook. Most of us don't use it as much. I still use it for just the marketplace. It's better than Craigslist. So I still continue to use Facebook just for that, and to be notified when it's your birthday, because I don't remember birthdays for the life of me. It's just not a gift. Trump said that social media companies cease to be private due to Section 230 liability protection, and that's what they need to figure out. They need to be forced to choose if they're a publisher or a platform. But he announced this. He's going to be the lead plaintiff, claiming that he's been censored by the companies, and of course he did. He was censored while he was freaking president of the United States. Trump made Twitter interesting. Twitter is now just lame. I don't like any social. As soon as they start censoring people, that's when things just get lame, and they don't become fun anymore. There's no art. There's no creativity, because you're like, if I do this, will I be banned? Instead of just doing it because it's funny, or just saying it. I know they're trying to say it as safety measures and keeping you safe, but that's a lie. Because they keep things like actual allegations of wanting to kill someone, like especially Andy No or something like that. Those people are fine, or the Ayatollah or any of these dangerous people. Those people are fine. It's Trump saying he's never seen a skinny person drink a Diet Coke or whatever that tweet was. That was just totally epic. He said, this is his quote, "I stand to you this morning to announce a very important development of our freedom and freedom of speech," Trump said in conjunction with the American First Policy Institute. I am pretty much all there for American First policies. I used to not be that way, but it's gotten so out of hand. I see the benefit of it. What are your thoughts on the American First just movement? He said, "I'm filing as a lead class action representative a major class action lawsuit against big tech giants, including Facebook, Google, Twitter, as well as their CEOs. There's no better evidence that big tech is out of control than the fact that they banned the sitting president of the United States earlier this year," Trump added. "If they can do it to me, they can do it to anyone." And they have done it to everyone. Remember Milo Yiannopoulos? I mean, there was Alex Jones. Is Alex Jones really that insane that you need to ban him? He's going to form some other thing that it's going to create a militia of dangerous people? No. People that watch Alex Jones know that he's a little bit over the top. And also, there's some of us like me that I occasionally look at a clip just to laugh. He's an incredible hype man. And probably one of the most interesting people alive because he's been banned. But they think that they're helping censor people by banning people, but at the same time too, it makes them more interesting. It's like my whole childhood, I grew up in a very Christian home. I was told like I shouldn't read Harry Potter. That made me want to read Harry Potter more than ever. I never wanted to read books until people told me what books I wasn't allowed to read. Then I was like, Why are these books so bad? So I just went over and grabbed books and read for the first time. Maybe it was a ploy. I'm starting to think that. Maybe it was a ploy for all adults to get their kids to read. Just tell people that these books are dangerous. I don't know. There's no better evidence that big tech. Okay. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, each barred Trump over false claims that the president election was stolen, alleging that he contributed to the violence of the Capitol 6. YouTube and is owned by Google. Whatever. But then we have more news coming out today saying that Facebook is actually going to ban anyone. Sorry for those who are watching the video. Not convicted, but charged with participating in January 6th Capitol riot. That's right. Even if you were wrongly accused and charged, you could be wrongly charged. You can look like someone who was there. You're off Facebook. You're done. You're off the planet. We don't like you anymore. We don't trust you. All right? We don't trust you. We don't like you. And you're spreading misinformation. You might be constructing one of those Lego sets that the Daily Beast put out. Those are dangerous Lego sets. Facebook has revealed that it will ban anyone who's charged in connection with the riot in U.S. Capitol and may start fact-checking claims that the riot was staged. Yeah, because when in history has the government ever intervened and helped create outcomes? Never. I've never read anything like that. That's insane. Why would you say that? That's a Russian thing. That's not us. An article detailing how Alan Hofstadter, a man who's been charged with obstructing official government proceedings and breaching restricted government property, was banned from Facebook and Instagram within hours of posting a video describing the January 6th riot as a false flag and fake surrection. Because he believed, every time I see surrection, I immediately go to my middle school boy vibes only and just think of you know what I'm thinking about. Because he believed infiltrators were in the crowd. Yeah, because why would anybody infiltrate that? Same with like all summer long and some of those bricks that were just, just huge things of bricks and corners of cities for Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Those weren't staged. None of this, there's no intervening by bigger forces. That would never happen in the history of man. I know, and I agree. Thank you, Facebook, for keeping me on your platform because I don't care. But it's important to be on. I feel like companies are going to look you up and they're like, hey, Derek, I didn't see you on Facebook. Is there a reason for that? Were you in the Capitol 6 riot? You're no longer hired. You're not on Facebook. Do you guys care? Do you care if you're off Facebook? I don't. At this point, I just don't. I don't even care anymore. I do care for my podcast to continue to grow, but their obsession with fact-checking, quote-unquote, I put it in quotes, because as we're going to find out later in this next video clip I'm going to show, they don't care. They don't care about doing their double-checking, and if they do get something wrong, they just flip it. It's like the Wuhan Lab Leak, People got their channels restricted and taken off and banned, and all of a sudden, now it's like, oh yeah, actually, it's a fact. It's true, and it's a possibility. So it's not fact, it's true. It's a possibility, that this happened. It's a very strong possibility. So you're allowed to talk about it now. That's the problem when you have fact checkers, is that fact checkers can be wrong. Because as we know, like in science, information changes through time. Because we get to know more information and we get to see what's actually happening, and then we can go back and change it. So that's a problem. My biggest problem is just banning people and getting rid of people, and because this is the main, like I said at the beginning, this is our main form of communication. If it wasn't that big of a deal, if we didn't really use it to communicate with people, I could care less. Yeah, private company, whatever. But the fact that every politician has to use Facebook, has to use Google, aka YouTube, has to use Twitter in order to, be elected, essentially, because these platforms are so big, you would be an idiot not to be on these platforms. That's why I have a huge problem with it. They need to be regulated because they're so powerful and they can influence election, or I'm not sorry, not influence, fortify elections. That's why I have a huge problem with it. What are your thoughts on that? Are you just one of these people that don't care and just say, you know what, there'll be another Facebook? Because when I say that, all these other conservative outlets like Getter just started, Parler, Gab, they're just not, the buy-in isn't the same. Or Minds, there's PocketNet. I mean, there's so many different platforms. There's Freedom Book. there's so many. You need buy-in. But these 3 platforms are so large, and I would throw TikTok in there because they're censoring like crazy, but they're also Chinese-owned.
And they're stealing our information and our DNA and our sequences.
These 3 to 4 platforms are so large they need to be regulated because this is our way of information. It's like freedom of the press. People don't read newspapers anymore. People don't read books. They go online and they look up information via YouTube. We have a generation of people, and especially like kids, that don't read. They'll listen though. They'll watch YouTube videos. They'll listen to video segments. So listen to quick reels on Instagram or TikTok that, a minute long clip to 3 minutes, I think is their max they allow now for some things, but a minute long clips, they'll allow that. They'll listen to that, but they won't actually read stuff. So that's why it's so important that these companies are regulated, because they can just control the narrative, and they all agree and believe the same philosophy on life. And that's why it's another problem, is that they're all in the same. They all vote the same. They all think the same. And so it's very communistic and dictatorship, authoritarianism, just controlling the information. And that's why I have a problem with it. Because then you get stuff like this, as we have Jack Posobiec talking to a Facebook fact checker. Let me get this video to make it look better so you can see it. We have Jack Posobiec talking to a Facebook fact checker.
From the presidential debate, if I can here. I got it queued up. Just one sec.
Happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had it. The only guy that made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
All right, that's all. I don't want to get into that too much. But I did want to go back to an article on Lead Stories from December 14th, where they claimed that Posobiec fabricated a quote that Biden said, "My son has not made money in China." So, Alan, I've played for you the quote. Why did your website claim that I fabricated the quote that Joe Biden just said? I played it for you.
Boom. And that's why censoring never works, because you have idiots like this guy, this fact checker, just fact checking, going off some other information in order to come to a conclusion instead of actually. There's like this weird push. I just feel like words don't mean what they used to mean anymore. It's like racism doesn't mean what it used to mean, because when you looked at racism 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but especially like 100 years ago, 60 years ago, you knew what that word meant, and you know what it looked like and what it felt like when you saw it. And now we have words like fact checkers. And a lot of kids and younger generations just assume fact checkers are producing truth. It's hard to be a fact checker if you only use 1 or 2 sources of information instead of all the sources of information. And that's why I have a huge problem with it, because especially these people only use the sources that are approved by their other fact checkers. It's like the fact checkers are the fact checkers of the fact checkers. Just keep watching this clip.
Joe Biden did not say my son has not made money in China. Okay.
He just said it. I just played it for you. Do you need to hear it again?
This guy is looking at a transcript instead of listening to Joe Biden's words. It's like you listening to my podcast, and then instead of listening to what I have to say, you read an article about what someone said I said. And then you go off that information like it's truth, as opposed to going to the actual source.
No, I'm looking. In response, this is what we wrote, and you know this. In response to
You
a long
claim that
flurry
I
of
fabricated the quote.
assertions that included China. Your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars, and the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
Alan, I just played you the quote.
I've got the
I
transcript.
played-
I'm looking at the transcript.
I played you the quote. What do you need to look at the transcript
Have you read
for?
our
Are you claiming
story?
that I made up this video?
Have you read our story?
Yes.
Do you appear?
Okay. Whenever you meet someone who's lying or fabricating something or just trying to lead you into a false direction, first they don't look at you in the eye like he was doing. He was looking off in the direction, and then he was either pretending like he didn't hear words or just his mind is blanking on certain statements forcibly because he's pretending that he's not hearing what Jack says, and he's just going off of what other reality he has in his head of what Jack's actually saying. And that's just another problem I have with the media and what's going on, is that people don't actually listen to each other anymore. People don't actually have a conversation. Like I did the whole thing on the critical race theory guy, Chris Rufo on MSNBC, and the fact that they don't allow him to speak, and then B, they call a conversation of just yelling at each other and having these 10-second segments, they call that a conversation. But in real life, that's not a conversation. And that's why we're so stupid. Okay, let's keep watching.
We flagged you on this, right? Are you still
You did
flagged
flag
on
me
it?
on this. You claimed that I fabricated the quote. I just played you the quote. So explain to
I'm
me
looking at
why
the
you claim that I fabricated it.
How dare you, Jack? How dare you go to the actual source of information, post it, and then Facebook, obviously, they're smarter than you, so they fact check it because they don't actually look at the source. They look at the transcript. All right? And there has never been in the history of man where somebody edited a transcript. All right? That's never happened before, Jack.
The section of the quote.
The section that I just
this is so true to anyone that's like lying. It's like, God, what do I need to say right now? I need to come up with something fun. I'm looking stupid. Why'd I come on this stupid show?
played.
My son did nothing wrong. Yes, he did. He
Alan,
He's this guy. This guy is so full of it. He's like, how old are you? Like 12? It's easy to tell a liar when you see one.
I just played the quote for you, my friend.
play it again.
What's
then.
going on
I
here?
want to hear it.
Hold on, hang on. Hang on.
Play it again, because I heard it, but I don't believe. I'm looking at the transcript, and this is what he later goes on to say. It's from the first debate. It's from the second debate. You said it was this. It's like you say something like Joe Biden got ice cream today, and it was Rocky Road, and they're like, fact check, false. He actually got ice cream, and it was mint chocolate chip. You freaking idiot. And then you get a false flag notification immediately. What's going to happen with this Trump lawsuit? I'm guessing absolutely nothing. I am guessing it's just going to look good for him, and it's just people like me that voted for Trump and wanted him to do something about Facebook, Twitter, and Google did absolutely nothing when he was in office. So it's almost like a wink and a nod at people like me who are just like, you did nothing. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know your thoughts on this whole banning people and censoring people. There's never been in the history of man of censoring someone and it turned out to be a good thing. Ever. And we have a whole generation of people that like it, accept it, cry for it. I did a story about a couple of actors signing a petition to ban the hate speech of women because they're so falsely treated and said horrible things online. As if some of these kids grow up posting stuff online and they've never been out in the real world and they don't know how just rude people can be, and so they're experiencing it for the first time via social media. This is not okay, and I need somebody to come on my show and explain to me why making it a public utility of these three things is a bad thing, because I don't see it any other way. I just don't. They're just too powerful. They're too strong. They have too much push on elections. Like when we talk about like
Russia hacked the election, 2016, 2020.
it's like okay, we can talk about that, but I'm more concerned about Facebook, Twitter, and Google censoring speech that leads to elections outcomes. That's what I have a bigger problem of, because they like to censor information as they're told what information is being allowed to say and not. And the problem is, again, with like the FCC, you can't say these words or you're banned off TV. Like, or you like, if you have an explicit word on your record, you have to have that parental advisory. These are things like you're like, okay, I get it. This is the rules. I think it's stupid. I hate that stuff, but there's actual rules, and then rules apply. All right. So that's totally different. Whereas Facebook, Google, and YouTube constantly change. They constantly change their information, and they constantly change what's allowed, what's not allowed. This is allowed, this is not allowed. I've had stuff that has been banned on YouTube that I appealed, that got taken, was put back on. But by just banning something on the initial post, it downgrades information and less people will see it, and they know it. They're just too powerful. They're just too strong, and they own way too much. And it doesn't make us stronger having three companies. It's like all these companies that made more money than they've ever made during their pandemic year, and you wonder why they want to continue to push lockdowns, as if money wasn't a motivator for any of this stuff. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know your thoughts on Trump in this lawsuit, because I don't think anything's going to come from it. I think it'll be it's a great push, and it makes him look good as a potential presidential candidate in 2024 to run on that agenda. But it took him too long to join things like Rumble. It took him too long to join. He needs to be on Parler. He needs to be on Gap. He needs to fight back. And I don't know who's whispering in his ear, but they're idiots. He should be on TikTok. He should be everywhere. That's allowed, that is not banned, because he'll make those websites because he saved Twitter single-handedly from going under. At least I believe that, because I stopped caring about Twitter. I got on Twitter, I think in like 2005, 2006, when it was very new, when there wasn't a lot of people on it, and then I just stopped using it because I got bored of it. And then as soon as Trump got into power, I was like, oh yeah, Twitter. Maybe I'll get back into that. And I did. Because it was funny. Twitter could be such a fantastic platform for comedy and just relating information and just a fun way to connect with people. But instead, they want to control it like the CCP. Yay. I just don't understand people in my generation that are for banning and censoring information. Makes me sad. Have a great day, everyone.